Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. He's back. Voldemort is back. I've been watching too much Harry Potter. Mourinho is back. And I tell you what, if you'd said this... Well, we know what watch-along we're doing on Saturday, don't we? 12:30, West Ham versus Spurs. That's our watch-along sorted. Easy work, because this is significant. Can Mourinho topple Klopp and Pep? We'll be talking about that. But what... I mean, first of all, let's just... This is why we love football. As football fans, I've done the video on the United stand talking about this because it's got ramifications for United. It puts pressure on Solskjaer. Check that video out on the United stand. But in relation to Mourinho and a general football fan, this is brilliant. This is why we love football, because I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm not a Spurs fan. Definitely not. But I did like Pochettino, but I felt that was the right thing to do. And I know a lot of Spurs fans are angry about it, but I think you do tend to get a common sense view from people who are not fans of the club. And I look at that and I go, is Pochettino better for Spurs than Mourinho? Yes. But is Mourinho better for Spurs right now than Pochettino? Yes. That would run its course. Pochettino's still a good manager. And Spurs, under Pochettino, were a very good team. But for whatever reason, football runs in cycles, and that cycle was coming towards an end. The players weren't responding. Pochettino looked disinterested. They hit that height of Champions League final, and it was always going to be a come down. I actually said coming into this season that I hoped, with the transfer business Spurs have done, that they would fight for a title, and very quickly it became very obvious that was not going to happen. You lose at home to Newcastle in your first 3 games, you're already dropping points that are not going to make you title contenders, and it got worse from there. So Pochettino remains a very good manager as far as I'm concerned, but it was time for Spurs to make a move, and they did. And it's interesting because Pochettino himself, in different circumstances, could have been Real Madrid manager in the summer. He could have been Manchester United manager. He was under contract, and both Real Madrid and Manchester United would have had to pay about £40 million to get him. A few months later, Spurs are paying him off. So, it's funny how football works. But even funnier, Pochettino gets sacked. There was rumours of that. There wasn't rumours of Mourinho to Spurs, really. And now he's managed Chelsea, he's managed Manchester United, and now he's managing Spurs. This man cannot stay away from the Premier League. He cannot stay away from the limelight. It would be very easy for Mourinho to get a job in Italy, maybe even Spain, but he's back in the Premier League for his 3rd club. This loyalty to Chelsea, this respect for Manchester United, don't believe it. He has got respect and loyalty to himself, and I don't blame Mourinho for that. And I think the Spurs job fits him perfectly. And how funny will those Arsenal fans feel now who were talking about getting Mourinho? I think there are Arsenal fans that are not part of this conversation that are very, very fed up, because we've done it on the watch-alongs on here and we've done it on the United stand, and I've said, Arsenal fans, you do not want Mourinho. You are a football club that wants to play a certain way, and he will not do that. But some Arsenal fans were like, yeah, we'll take him over Emery, and now he's at your biggest rival, Spurs. So I think you've dodged the bus. To be honest, Arsenal fans, but that probably won't be much of a consolation at the moment. Emery will leave Arsenal at some point. Ollie will leave Manchester United at some point. That's probably what I believe. I ultimately think long term Ollie isn't the right man for United, but I wouldn't get rid of him at the moment. Emery will not be the right man for Arsenal. He will go, and I applaud Spurs for what they've done. They've acted very, very swiftly, and they've brought in a manager that. It's going to be interesting. The thing that stands out to me is that when I look at Spurs' squad, it's better than Manchester United's, it's better than Arsenal's, and it's better than Chelsea's, and it's better than Leicester's. It's got a lot of good players in it. You've got a very good goalkeeper. You've got really good options at the back. You've got Davinson Sanchez, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Ben Davies, Aurier. It needs a bit of strengthening, but there's good enough players there. It's certainly better than United's defence that Mourinho took over. That midfield has got options. It's got Winks, it's got Sissoko, it's got Dyer, it's got Ndembele, it's got Lamela, it's got Ericsson, it's got Lo Celso, it's got Dele Alli. It's got lots of options in there. Yes, I think they'll go and get Bruno Fernandes as well. Yes, he will probably want somebody else, but they've got options in there. And then you've got Lucas Moura, you've got Son, you've got Harry Kane, they've got Sessegnon. They've got options. That team is a good squad for Spurs. Mourinho will want to make changes to it, definitely, but he has got a core of players that he can come in there. Spurs miss a backbone, and Spurs miss a winning mentality. Mourinho has got backbone and a winning mentality in bucket loads. So it's an interesting marriage. Of course, Spurs will want to play a certain brand of football. You're probably not going to get that. I'm very interested to see what his coaching staff is going to be. Rui Faria, probably not getting enough mention. As an ex-Manchester United manager, We finished second with Mourinho and Rui Faria. Rui Faria left in the summer. Many of us thought that would let the shackles off and we'd be less of a part of the bus team. We became more of a part of the bus team, and Mourinho was gone by Christmas. So interesting to see what his back staff are. I personally am very happy that Mourinho is back in the Premier League. He's box office. It's exciting. It's not my club, which is even better. So I get to watch it and just watch what happens. What my predictions are: do Pep and Klopp have anything to worry about? No, not unless they're going to get in a car together and do a Thelma and Louise and just never manage football clubs again. I think that nobody is going to break that domination at the moment. And Mourinho, in this modern game of football, is not the sort of manager that can do that. His brand of football will not topple Man City and Liverpool because part of the bus will not stop those teams. But what I would say with Mourinho is if you look at when he was sacked from Manchester United, we were a club that was struggling around 7th, 8th, 9th, if I remember correctly. Spurs are mid-table at the moment, but they've got a good run of games. They've got West Ham, which is a tough first game because it's away, but then I think they're at home, and then it's United, and then I think they've got a good run of games. So apart from United and West Ham and I think Chelsea just before Christmas, there are some winnable games there for Spurs, which Mourinho, look, Spurs have got a good team. If you're at home to Norwich with that team and Mourinho, you should be winning 1 or 2-0. And I think that's what Spurs are going to start to see. You're going to tighten up at the back and keep clean sheets, and you're going to start to be clinical up front. That's what Mourinho will do. Whether Spurs fans can fall in love with that or not, I don't know. But there are some key things here. It's a 3-year contract. Mourinho's normally gone in year 3, so that fits perfectly. He's a short-term manager. He's already mentioned about being excited about the Spurs youth. He is not a manager for youth. He's not. He'll get his list out, but he's not a manager for youth. He's a manager for now. He's a manager for now. And it's an interesting thing because Spurs don't win trophies and Mourinho does. Everywhere he's been, and I feel like I'm pulling out an old script here and dusting it off because it's the same as I said when he came to United. Everywhere he's been, he's won the title in the first 2 years. Forget that Spurs because that stopped with United. He didn't win the title with us, but every other club he won the title in that league in the first 2 years. But what he did do in the first 2 years with Manchester United was win a Carabao Cup and a Europa League. And he always wins something in his first 2 years, which is something Spurs haven't done for a long time. So that's a tick for Spurs straight away. Can he make Spurs Champions League winners? No. Can he make Spurs title winners? Not unless there's a massive change in the way that Man City and Liverpool are run. But whether he can do it this season, because where he's starting from, I think the world's got to be fair here. When Ollie took over from Mourinho last December, every United fan and every non-United fan said from where they are, it'll be a miracle if they get top 4. And he nearly did it. He got us into a top 4 race in March and then blew it. So you've got to say the same for Mourinho. I think Spurs are 12 points off 4th place at the moment, or 11 points, something like that. For him to pick that team up in basically the end of November and get it top 4 would be bordering on miraculous, as the same as we said with Ollie last year. He's got a month more. He's got a January transfer window. If he gets top 4 this season with that Spurs team, that would be an amazing effort by Mourinho. I don't think he would do it. And I don't think the expectation should be there for him to do it because it's a big, big gap. But next season, I think they will. I think Spurs will be top 4 comfortably next year. And I think that's what you're going to get with Mourinho. First and second, forget it. But Spurs will be somewhere between 3rd and 6th every year that Mourinho has a full season there. The second thing is, people are like, oh, this is going to be a disaster because Daniel Levy doesn't like spending money. Do you think Mourinho's been tied up and took to Spurs as a manager? There's been negotiations there, and the first thing any United manager should do, and definitely the first thing Mourinho will do from now on, is not going to go to another club where vampires are sucking the blood out of the club and giving you, tying your hands behind your back. He learnt that lesson at Manchester United. He's spoken openly about it at Manchester United. The lack of funding after the first year, it all dried up. So if he's going to Spurs, he will have said, I want 150 million every summer. And I reckon that's been signed off. Now, if you're getting that level of investment with that Spurs team, if you can spend if you know you're spending 150 million every year on that Spurs squad, and let's not forget, he might say Harry Kane can go. Who knows? He might offload a couple of players. That Spurs team is going to be better. They've got the core of a good team there. They need a backbone, and they need some consistency, and they need a bit of spending. If Spurs fans can get past the fact that the football might not be pleasing on the eye all the time, you might be in for an exciting time. If you are a Spurs fan who wants to start winning trophies of any kind, you might be in for an interesting time. I've put the tweets out. I'm not going to delete it. For me, Mourinho is a Wikipedia page. He's done at the top level. But there's a level below the top level. There's, when I look at Manchester United and Mourinho, I think that's failure. Some people will say, well, you won the Carabao Cup and the Europa League. For me, as a Manchester United fan who's been spoilt, that's not success. That's okay. For Spurs who don't win anything, Carabao Cup and the Europa League, that would be success. And I think that's where Mourinho operates now. I don't think he's a Champions League winner. I definitely don't think he can win a Premier League. But he is not a top-level manager anymore. I don't think he is. He's box office, but I don't think he's top-level. It's going to be very exciting to watch. I think he's going to position Spurs between 3rd and 6th and look at picking up domestic cups. And maybe go deeper. They're not going to be in the Europa League. They're going to be in the Champions League, aren't they? But maybe next year, Spurs are in the Europa League. I quite fancy him to win it. So if you're asking me what I think is going to happen with Spurs this season, I don't know. You're in the Champions League. That's an interesting thing for Mourinho. That will be a very interesting thing. He might say, top 4 in the league's difficult. Let's get ourselves as high as we can. But Champions League, we're going to go for that. Next season, if you're in the Europa League, I'd fancy you to win it. I'd certainly think you'll be in top 4 next year. And I think that's your 2-year plan at Spurs. Very excited and that's what this channel is all about, as a place where everyone can talk about football. I'm very excited to watch this, and we will watch his first game 12:30 on Saturday, Spurs versus West Ham. Get your comments in below. Mourinho, what are your thoughts? What can he achieve at Spurs? Does it put Arsenal's owners and United's owners in the shade? How quickly, they've had a new stadium and they've been ruthless. Whatever you think about Levy and Spurs, I think that's the sort of leadership you want from your club. Thanks for watching. Get your comments in below, smash the like on the video, and make sure you subscribe.